Hey crazy cats, Michael Beresford here, back again for today's Open Corp Property Wealth WOD. What we're going to be talking about today, for those of you that know me or have seen some of the videos that we put out at Open Corp, our WODs, I'm really big on finance and specifically finance structure, making sure that investors set finance up the right way to allow them to build a portfolio. Okay, it's really easy to do it the bank's way, and while it takes a little bit more effort, it's well worth that effort in the long run doing it your way. Okay, it comes down to three things. It comes down to security, it comes down to flexibility, and it comes down to control. Okay, far better that we have those three things in our favor rather than the bank having it in their favor. So we're not one for buzzwords here at Open Corp, but here's a ripper for you: cross-collateralisation. Glad I got that out. It's hard to say. I'm going to take you through what it is and I guess how people get caught out, especially when they look to get finance from a bank that they already have a relationship with. Seems like a logical place to go. The bank that know you, they make it easy. You get a discount on the interest rate, whatever it might be. We have a bit of a different spin on it, and I'll take you through what cross-collateralisation is and why it's important to avoid it. Okay, so you think in my job I'd be better at drawing houses, but I'm not. So let's say that you own your own home. This, by the way, is exactly what happened to me. Okay, when I was starting out, and one of the big four banks stitched me up, so we'll use them. Let's say that I've got a mortgage with ANZ in this case, and over time I've created some really fantastic usable equity here as well. Now, if I'm motivated to grow my portfolio, let's say that this is investment property number one, and that I need to come up with deposit and costs for this property. Let's use 85,000 as a round number for this example in terms of what we'd need to cover deposit and all costs, stamp duties, everything like that down here. Okay. Now, if this was me, typically what will happen is if you've got an existing relationship and some equity in a property with ANZ, okay, and you find a property that you want to buy, the logical place to go for 95% or more of Australians is back to the bank that they already have the relationship with. And it's all around discount on the rate, ease, and so forth. Okay. The problem with that is this. What will happen is that when you tell ANZ in this case about this property, they will value your own home and not tell you what it's worth, i.e. they won't disclose their bank valuation to you. They'll do exactly the same over here on this property, won't tell you what this is worth, but they'll say, hey Michael, yeah, no dramas. Look, based on the equity you have and the income that you earn, we'll lend you the money for this investment property, provided that your house is security against the investment. Okay, now what that means is that if anything were to happen to you or to the investment property, then your house is collateral or security against this loan. And what that means is the bank can sell your house out from under your feet, no questions asked, first thing Monday morning, for a lot less than what it's worth. They just need to sell it for enough to be able to recoup their costs and get their money back. Okay? Now, for many of you starting out, you're probably pretty motivated to build a property portfolio. That's awesome. The last thing that you want to be doing is putting your own family castle at risk. Think about how hard it was to save that first deposit, how much you've been paying in mortgage repayments over the years that you've had it, and how much you love it. Rule number one, we do not put your existing portfolio, especially the family home, at risk. Okay, so for all of you IT guys out there and girls, we build a firewall between your family home and your investment portfolio. So, how do we do it? Well, if we're not cross-collateralising, the finance process has two steps. The first step is that we take an equity loan. Now, what that means is we've got equity in this property and we need $85,000 to cover deposit and costs. We go back to ANZ in this instance and borrow, let's say, 100K against the equity in the existing property. Okay? We do no more business with ANZ on this transaction. Okay, so we bring this 100K across here to cover the deposit and costs. We still need to finance the other 90% of this property. Where do we go to get that loan? Guys, I don't care. Okay? Work through that with a mortgage broker who understands these structures. The correct answer to that question is X-Bank. Basically, anywhere except ANZ. Okay, so let's explore that. Let's say, in the worst possible instance, that something happened to you or to this property, okay, and you were forced to sell it. What can X-Bank do to you? The only property that they have an interest in is the investment property. So provided you're mitigating your risk on the repayments on this equity loan, your family home is safe. Okay, you might lose the investment, you've still got your family home. Compare that with the situation where these two properties are cross-collateralized and your home is sold first, because that's where it's easiest for the bank to get their money back. That's not such a great situation. Okay, so it just comes down to control and security and having the flexibility to make the call on what happens. However, prevention is better than cure, right? So how do we prevent that scenario happening where we need to sell this property in the instance that something might happen to you or to the property? Well, you might have noticed that we took $100,000 here as an equity loan, but we only need $85,000 to cover deposit and costs. Okay. The key part is that the remaining $15,000 here simply sits in a buffer, okay, to protect your cash flow. What if you lose your job? What does this property cost you? Worst case, $100 a week out of pocket. Much less on today's interest rates, but budget on $100 per week. That means that with no money out of your pocket, you've got 3 years worth of holding costs within this buffer, assuming rent never goes up. Okay, so while job losses and all the other things, vacancies, etc., are risks that might happen with property, you can mitigate those risks, number one. And number two, you can ensure that you have buffers in place to protect your cash flow and ensure that you never have to sell this property. If this buffer gets you through 3 years of holding costs, then this property over 3 years will have grown in value. Again, you can simply top up that buffer and get you through the next 2 to 3 years as a safety guard as well. So there we have it, guys. Rule number one when it comes to finance, don't cross-collateralize or cross-secure. That's why. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you next time.